Hello everyone, welcome back to the afternoon session of Water After Borders. We have a historic afternoon ahead of us. Let me give you a little bit of the lay of the land of what we'll be doing. From 1 to 3, we have a panel about water across borders in the Middle East. It will be chaired by my friend and colleague, Dr. Samer Alitut, Associate Professor of Community and Environmental Sociology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. There will be a keynote address by His Excellency, Mr. Saeed Abu Hamour, head of the Jordan Valley Authority, and then we will hear from the 3 directors of EcoPeace Middle East, Gidon Bromberg, the Israeli director, Nader Al-Khatib, the Palestinian director, and Munkif Mayar, the Jordanian director. Followed by that, we'll have a panel chaired by Joel Bramier, President and CEO of Alliance for the Great Lakes, and it will be about water and the city. We will have 3 mayors from the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River Cities Initiative, and 3 of the Good Water Neighbors from EcoPeace Middle East. Following that panel, we will have the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding to create a sister waters partnership between Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative and EcoPeace Middle East. And then at the very end, everyone here will join us together in a freshwater toast. So join me in welcoming Dr. Samer Alitut.
So I was just making the comment that Rachel and I just discovered that we are kind of the daughter and son of one idea, the Jordan River as border, and then what follows from that, because we both work on that. But I think, let me introduce the panel, but by way of introducing them first, I think Professor, of course, Havrelock did such a tremendous job putting together a great summit like this one, bringing people together to talk about water from the Middle East, an area she and I know kind of quite well, and the Midwest, which is my second home, I think her second home probably, right? Maybe first. But a place that I'm starting to know now, and thanks for all the discussions before and the debates. So thanks to Rachel for including me, and of course thanks for all the logistical support, especially from Nicole, that happened in the past and now. I'd like to tell you about how I'm going to organize the panel. So but let me start with this. We're all, of course, thrilled to have His Excellency Engineer Saeed Hamour, who is the General Secretary of the Jordan Valley Authority, with us today. I will be introducing him more fully in a couple of minutes, but he will be giving us a 15-minute keynote kind of address for this panel. And then following that, we will have each of the following panelists, all directors of Friends of the Middle East, all EcoPeace Middle East. Not Friends of the Middle East anymore since November, but all EcoPeace of the Middle East. And each of them will give us also 15 minutes of talking. I will be giving each panelist about 5-minute kind of warning, and then 2-minute warning, then 1-minute warning, and then 0-minute warning. Since we have the 3 directors of EcoPeace of the Middle East, I'd like to introduce the organization first, and then each of them. So FOMI, it's really difficult to isolate between EcoPeace and FOMI, because FOMI is not anymore, they are not anymore connected organizationally. But anyway, EcoPeace is a unique regional organization that brings together Jordanian, Palestinian, and Israeli environmentalists to promote sustainable development and sustainable environments and advance peace efforts in the Middle East. The organization has offices in Amman, Beit Lahem in Palestine, and in Tel Aviv, and employs over 40 people as staff, and actively involves hundreds in each office, and it involves hundreds of volunteers It used to be a member of the Friends of the Earth International. We don't know why that didn't happen now. But anyway, so let me introduce His Excellency first. I'm thrilled, of course, to be introducing His Excellency, again, Engineer Abu Hammour, to you today. His Excellency is currently the Secretary General of the Jordan Valley Authority and the Jordan Ministry. It acts as the Jordan Ministry of Water and Irrigation. Abu Hammour holds a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering from Pakistan and a master's in sanitary engineering from a Netherlands, a Dutch university in 1998. For the past 30+ years, His Excellency held a number of positions in the public and private sectors that helped develop and sharpen his practical skills and executive expertise. He was a maintenance engineer at the Ministry of Transportation. I will go with a few points in his biography. An electromechanical engineer manager, an assistant director for training and transportation manager at the Arab pharmaceutical manufacturing company. He also became the operations maintenance manager at the Water Authority in Jordan, water director of ZAY, and also the Water Authority. But what is more important really than all of that is the awards and recognitions he has received. He received the Independence Medal of the third degree bestowed on him by the King of Jordan for his outstanding performance in Jordan's water sector services. He had letters of recognition from USAID, for example, for active participation in the operating contracts of water for water and wastewater services, but also a number of others. I mean, I'm not going to mention all of them. And so with that, I'd like first to welcome him, and maybe after that I will introduce the three directors of EcoPeace at some point. But please join me in welcoming His Excellency.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I know it's a very hard time after the lunch to pay attention for speakers, but I'll try my best to deliver the message for the means which I'm standing over here. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer of this great event and giving me the chance. Anyhow, I think like this is good. This is too wide, that should be. Good. Again, I will repeat, I would like to thank the organizer of this conference, Water After Borders. I would like to thank this great university, which is well known and famous even in the Middle East. And I would like to thank Dr. Rachel for her efforts since we stepped into this state, since we came 3 days ago. She was always with us, and we started our conference yesterday. We tried to attend as much as we did. Anyhow, I am not going to deliver any presentation, just I will have a brief speech about the Jordan River and the Water After Borders. Everybody knows that we are in the Middle East as a Jordan, as a country, and we are neighbored by the Palestinian and the Jewish. The main diversion or the main border between us, or the geographical boundary between Jordan and Israel and Palestine, the Jordan River. This river, it's divided in two borders. One started from the northern part of the Jordan territories and end in Beit Shan, or we call it in Arabic Pisan. This is the Israeli-Jordanian official borders. I'm not reading from the speech. Just I will not take. Only I'll take 15 minutes. But I like to talk about the Jordan River. That's why I can talk a few hours if you want. Then after this segment, which we call it Bichan, the Jordanian-Palestinian border started. It is very long comparing with the one which is with Israel. You know, the river itself. You know, the length of this river is 333 kilometers. But if you drive horizontally by car, it is from the start till the end, till the Dead Sea, where it drops over there. It's around 75 kilometers. But the river orientation or the profile, it's 33 kilometers. So it's a very long river. And when you hear a river and you see on the ground, in reality, you will become shocked. It's a river, but at least it's not. You cannot compare it with any even. I don't know how to call it in English. Yes, it is similarly dry. You can cross it by foot. You know, no need to have any other mean of media to cross it. So it's very dangerous. So people, if they want to cross and to go to Israel, it's easy for them to cross without any problem. Anyhow, and I want to say something about the neighboring now. You know, before 1994, we were Arabs and Israelis as enemies, you know. And the decision maker, they decided to make a peace treaty between Jordan and Israel, which started in 1994. This peace treaty, everybody, a lot of people, they were against. A lot of people, they were in favor of it. But in the end, it was in the benefit of two Liberian countries. And we recognize, as a Jordanian, we have to be under the peace treaty. Otherwise, war will not end. And making neighbors enemies forever, it doesn't work. It doesn't exist. So we should be friends. But being friends, you should put some common senses. How to make me, myself, or to make you friends of mine. Where there is limitations, there is some special relations should be in the friendship. That's why you cannot manage it if you don't have something written, and you have to mention your rights and my rights to be in one room, or to be my roommate, or to be my friend. That's why we decided in that time, and our late King Hussein, he signed with the Israeli leaders in the presence of the President Clinton in that time in Wadi Araba. Wadi Araba is part of the Jordan River. I think somebody of you, they heard about it. The Jordan River the Jordan Valley as an area, the length of this valley is around 600 kilometers, started from the northern part with the Syrian borders and end before Aqaba. And also the scientists, they call it Rivet Valley, which goes to Africa. And while you are in the valley, always it's windy, and even the temperature is 50 degrees centigrade in summer, but you never feel humidity due to the blowing of air always. And the case in Aqaba. Aqaba, it's a gulf, it's the Red Sea, but you can even walk in the noontime while the temperature is 45, and you don't feel that the humidity teasing you a lot, comparing with the Gulf or other countries where they have big seas and they have humidity more than 80%, or sometimes reaches 100% in summer. So I'm describing the area just to make you loving this area and to come and to see how the valley is good, you know. So actually, if you go through the peace treaty, it is in the website, by the way, and you can access to this peace treaty. It's translated to English, and there is Arabic version. So if you go to the peace treaty, you will find clearly stated that the both Liberian countries, not the both, and we are talking about three countries, they should take care of the environmental of this area, especially the river. But unfortunately, after we signed the peace treaty, nobody was following up. Nobody is following up. It's the fault of our government. It's the fault of Israeli. It's the fault. Nobody was caring about the river. We left it till we find it in the end. It's dry, smelling bad. Nobody is accepting the way it has been situated as a river should be always any ecosystem, and the life should be always showing up from this river. But in the end, our neighbors, our people, our communities, local communities, they were claiming that this river is no more is sewage water, that's all. Because there was sewage dumping direct from the Israeli side and from our side. But from the Israeli side, it's more because, you know, the settlement, Israeli settlement is adjacent to the river. But our communities, due to the security issues or requirements, we are a little bit too far. Our villages, where it's located in the valley, doesn't exist near to the river. It is too far, sometimes 10 kilometers, sometimes 5 kilometers. And we, as a Jordanian officials or government, also we have participated in destroying the ecosystem in this river and the degradation in general in the valley. We don't take care of the sanitation. We don't ask our neighbors, you have to stop the bad activities, and it's not allowed for you, according to the peace treaty, to damage this river. Later, we recognized that we have to talk with our friends in Israel, and we did it. We did it. We started seriously talking in year 2011. But for me, or Friends of the Earth, or what you call it, Eco-Peace, there's 3 names, by the way. So we have to recognize one. They started early after, but intensively they started in year 2005 to talk about the Jordan Valley and especially about the Jordan River. And they have launched a lot. They did many conferences. They paid visit for all over the world. They were introducing this problem in a manner or another way that they are seriously interested to bring the life for this river, and they achieve it. They achieve it, and they were 100% presence in some international conferences, and they convinced the European communities that we destroyed the river and we have to bring the life or to restore it as much as we can. And the help of them and our pressure from us as a government of Jordan, we start seriously negotiating this problem with our friends in Israel, and they agreed and they accepted that we should do something, and we did it. We did the first phase of some projects which we agreed. In year 2013, there was the first drop of fresh water to the river by the amount of 2,000 cubic meters per hour. And now if you go along the river, you will find the waters there, and especially the lower part, we call it the lower part, but it's the upper part because it's the border between Jordan and Israel. The water is very clear, good, no smelling, irrigable water. But after the border end with Israeli, the other border, which is very negligible border, and you don't find anybody to talk about the Palestinian-Jordanian borders. The Palestinians, they don't exist on that side. It is on the papers, it's the border between Jordan and Israel. But in reality, on the ground, or in the political level, you don't find somebody to talk about this area of the river. Actually, this is the problem between the Palestinians and the Israelis. They have to solve it, but we are willing and we appreciate if they will accelerate the whole process or the peace just to solve this problem and to let the Palestinians to exist in their West Bank, to talk with them, because the Palestinians uncontrolling, or they don't mean, but they are destroying the river also. There is a lot of waste coming to the river, which shouldn't be the case. But anyhow, this is the brief about the Liberians, about the river itself. We hope that, by the way, I will just mention something about the activities of the both governments, Israel and Jordan, that we did an international conference last year. We held it in some settlement or colonies, we call it near David. And before that, I came to the States with the Israeli delegation. We have did many meetings, or we sit with decision makers in the States. We met with the the State Department. We met with the USAID. We met with the EBAC. We met with more than 10 different agencies, either officials or NGOs, and they participate in that conference in that time. And from that time till now, we didn't receive any single penny that supporting our proposals or projects which we introduced in the conference, which was last year in October. But we hope that with the help of people like you, with the help of the United States, we'll receive a lot of grants or a lot of money, because we need billions to build up this valley and to get rid of all bad activities and sanitation problems, and to bring the ecosystem or eco-life to the valley or to the river, especially where it's suffering a lot. And we look forward also from our neighbors from Israel to improve more and more the river by delivering more fresh water, and it's agreed with them by year 2017. They will deliver around 17 million cubic meters, 30 million cubic meters, but this quantity doesn't count in the river with this long 330 kilometers, but it's better than nothing. While you start, maybe you'll achieve something. And I don't know, I have time? No? 4 minutes? Okay. Then, by the way, yani, we are here as others, they are here, but unfortunately, nobody officials comes from other Liberian countries. I ask EcoPeace why the others, they are not with me, because I am talking from one part, the other two parts, they are not existing. They should talk as I am talking here. They should show up and see and talk the facts. But nobody is coming from the officials, others, or my partners, or because I am running the JWC, Joint Water Committee with Israel. So the chief or the chairman of the Water Authority in Israel, he should join us over here. But I don't know, maybe it's lack of money, lack of something that they haven't been invited, but they should be present here and deliver some few words just to see the opinions of different Liberians, how they are feeling and how they are dealing with this river. Even the Palestinian, he is not coming. They should join us, but I don't know why. But what I asked Mr. Munqadh, he said maybe the money from their side, but they can pay their tickets, I mean, by themselves, and the hotel accommodation is not that much expensive. But maybe they didn't receive an official or strong invitations from the EcoPeace. This is in a brief. I'm ready to receive any questions, and sorry if I did some mistakes or I didn't deliver the good English, because it's not my mother tongue, but I try my best to make it clear. Thank you very much.
I mean, if we have a couple of questions that are quick, we can take them. But otherwise, we will put all the presentations together. Anyone with a burning question? Okay, maybe, yes?
Would it be possible to find the map?
It's coming. It's coming. It will come from the other presentation.
Is he rewriting the map?
It's coming with the other presentations, I think. So let me introduce the three directors who are here. The first one I will introduce is Gidon Bromberg, sorry. And Gidon founded the organization of EcoPeace under the name of EcoPeace in 1994 and has been the Israeli director ever since. In 1997, actually, it's good to mention that EcoPeace became part of Friends of the Earth until 2014, just a few months ago. He's especially known for a practically notable cross-border community peace building project that was going under the name and still is Good Water Neighbors, which is now seen as a model for other programs in conflict areas. Bromberg speaks regularly on water and peace and security issues. He, for example, spoke to the United Nations Commission for Sustainable Development. He spoke for the United States House Committee on Foreign Affairs. He did speak to the European Parliament, and he did also talk to the advisory meeting to the UN high-level panel on security. He's active in a number of committees, including a member of the Israeli Interministerial Committee on the Future of the Dead Sea. He's also in Israel UNESCO World Heritage Committee. He's on the Interministerial Committee for Sustainable Development in Israel. And in 2007, Mr. Bromberg was invited to join East-West Institute's International Task Force for Preventive Diplomacy. More recently, he was selected in 2007 for World Fellowship at Yale University, where he went for a global leadership. In any case, Bromberg is a lawyer by training, and he has now behind him, I think, 25 years at least of 20 years, exactly 20 years of expertise on water politics in Palestine and Israel. So let's welcome. Well, actually, can I also go? Sorry, Nader. Where is Nader Al-Khatib? Nader Al-Khatib is the general director of the Water and Environmental Development Organization in Palestine. It's a non-profit Palestinian organization that promotes a number of environmental programs and projects centered on water quality control, water conservation, wastewater treatment and reuse, as well as solid waste management and recycling. He's also the Palestinian director of EcoPeace, and who is the counterpart of Gidon in Palestine. And I think they became they made the EcoPeace Palestine, I think 2001, maybe, something like that. Al-Khatib earned his university degree in geological engineering in Turkey, and then a master's of science in environmental management from the UK. He basically has since had over 20 years of experience in water management and sanitation. He served as a chief engineer in Beit Lahem and Jala and Beit Sahur, which are towns in Palestine, on the Water Authority of Palestine Water Authority. And he also worked on projects that were funded by USAID and the UNESCO. And so now let me also move to Munqidh Mihyar. Munqidh? Hi. Munqidh Mihyar is chairman and Jordanian director of EcoPeace. As a Jordanian director, Mihyar, I think he has a different kind of responsibilities. As a chairman, his activities include or concern Jordan River, the Dead Sea, and Good Water Neighbors Project. As chairman, his responsibilities include supervising international projects, development and management, serving as a liaison to lobbying the governmental and private sectors in Jordan, as well as internationally. Mihyar has organized dozens of conferences, regional and workshops, and study tours, supervised regional research on shared ecosystems. He often, actually, one of the strong advocates for Palestinian state, and often declares his intentions, often clearly. Mihyar received a degree in regional planning and architecture from the University of Louisiana in the US, and then he became a planning engineer, and then, of course, he joined EcoPeace. So with that, please let's just welcome our three panelists.
Ladies and gentlemen, well, really I am delighted to be with you here and to share you a little bit of the Middle East headache. And thanks, Rachel, for inviting us and for organizing this really great gathering. I'll try to be short, although I can speak for hours and hours. And thanks, for introducing me. I wish I had only 20 years of experience, but I am much older than that. Have 32 years of experience in water and sanitation. I'll be talking in brief about the Jordan River. So for those who did not see the maps, they will be able to see it now. When we talk about Jordan River, we talk about really a basin that brings 5 countries as riparians. If you look to the map, the Jordan River, I'll explain how it is starting and the names given. If you look to the upper north of the map, the Jordan River comes from 3 major springs, Hasbani in Lebanon, Banias in the Syrian Golan Heights, Dan in Israel. Those 3 springs, they flow down and meet at one point. They create a small lake called Hula. That's in the north of Israel. Then after that, it flows to the south to the Sea of Galilee. And in between Hula and the Sea of Galilee, it's called the Upper Jordan River. And it brings, through this flow, it brings more than 600 million cubic meters, mainly from those 3 springs in the 3 countries. Then after it goes to the south, out of the Sea of Galilee, it meets another river coming from the south of Syria, which makes the borders between Syria and Israel at some point, and between Syria and Jordan. That's the Yarmouk. And its historic flow was like 450 million cubic meters. Then it flows down towards the Dead Sea, and along that journey, it gets some water, or used to get some water from the wadis on both sides. Now, that is the history. When it used to reach the Dead Sea, it used to bring 1,300 million cubic meters of fresh water annually. This is not the story anymore. Water problem really between the Arabs and Israel, goes back history, for a long time now. But in the 50s, the United States, as it is today, it tried, to fairly distribute and come to an agreement that fairly shares the water between the 5 riparians. The best known outcome of that was what's called the Johnston Plan, or the Unified Johnston Plan, which was a technical. Unfortunately, it was never politically approved by the countries, led to individual or unilateral actions after that. And each country, in the Upper Jordan tried, to divert the water. Israel, in 64 completed the national carrier, started diverting water from the north of the Sea of Galilee towards the coastal area and the Negev. Jordan started with the East Ghor Canal. In the 70s, Syria went with more dams blocking the Yarmouk River. Since 67, the Palestinians have no access to the Jordan River because of politics. And today, the Dead Sea receives less than 5% of the historic flow, or less than 100 million cubic meters of liquids. It's not a fresh water. I'm still talking about this, Okay, right. I am coming to those, okay? So that's the history. And, today what it flows is mainly, sewage, brackish water, or return flow from agriculture, water from fresh ponds. And unfortunately, along the river is really a holistic river, especially for Christianity. And you can see its importance in terms of culture and environment. First, the baptism site where thousands, hundreds of thousands, in fact, they visit that site from Palestine and Jordan every year to be baptized in that water, but unfortunately they do not realize it is unhealthy water. But that's the problem. Of course, it is important also for the Jews and for the Muslims, because the same, almost the crossing or the baptism site was the crossing point of the Israelites to Palestine. And on the eastern banks of the river also there are lots of tombs for the companions of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. So it's important for the 3 Abrahamic faiths. In addition, it is very rich in environment, in culture, in world heritage, and also it is a well-known migratory route for birds. More than 500 million birds every year cross the Jordan Valley twice, north-south and south-north. And if you also will see this, this slide, it shows you the history of the Jordan River. You know, there are three bridges that use, you know, to link civilizations on both sides. The Hijazi Railway in the past, which was, you know, connecting Haifa to Damascus to Saudi Arabia. And you can see also the Australian, what you call them, you know, those during the First World War, you know, crossing the Jordan River. You can see how big it was. It was very wide. But you hear today, it is like a small stream. Even, you know, a 3-year child can cross it easily with no fear. The Jordan River and the Yarmouk in the past, you know, it was a potential source to create hydropower. And in fact, in the 20s, a Russian Jewish engineer, Pinchas Rothenberg, you know, built the first and the last hydropower plant in the Middle East. And it was mainly depending on the waters of the Yarmouk and the river. And that, at that time, it provided more than 40% of the electricity of the British Mandate Palestine. So you can imagine how much water has been there. And also in the 19th century, in 1858, you know, an American admiral, you know, and thanks that he did such a journey, you know, he went from the north to the south in 5 boats and was recording and documenting whatever he see on both sides. And that is the database we have, you know, today to refer to. And unfortunately, you know, if we compare what is happening today and what was before, we discovered that more than 50% of the biodiversity along the Jordan River disappeared. Some of it disappeared because of the deterioration of water quality, some of it because the water velocity in the river became much and much less. Fish species from the river disappeared because of high salinity, and the Jordan River was a good source of food for many communities living on both sides of the river, which is not the case anymore. And of course, you know, what has been happening during the last 60 years, you know, because of the unilateral actions, you can see that is a dam in Jordan, because Jordan is facing water shortages and they invest in rain harvesting, so they capture the flood waters, you know, wherever they can. In Israel, you know, after the Sea of Galilee, 2-3 kilometers south of the Sea of Galilee, the River Jordan was totally blocked by an earth dam, and next to that earth dam, you can see that pipe, which was bringing all the sewage of the Israeli communities directly to the River Jordan, including the saline springs on the east, on the west side of the Sea of Galilee also was diverted to the same point, which is, luckily it's not the same thing nowadays, you know, that things have been changing, but imagine it's been going for more than 60 years. This is how the Jordan River looks today. You can see it is very small, yani, and unfortunately, because it's been a conflicted area and military zone, the public, they do not know what is happening there. Okay, otherwise maybe public pressure could have created other facts, but nobody has an access. It's very restricted area, so that is one of the major problems. But this is the end result of the unilateral action. Of course, we cannot talk about the Jordan River without thinking of the Dead Sea. Yani the Jordan River was the sole source providing water to the Dead Sea. But now when the Jordan River was diverted, the Dead Sea started shrinking, and the Dead Sea today goes at least 1 meter down every year. 1 meter every year, at least. And in our lives, we have seen how far the Dead Sea shores, you know, moved inside. And that is really terrible. Also the Dead Sea, what's happening also in the Dead Sea, there are other industries. In Jordan and Israel, in the south of the Dead Sea, these are the potash and the mineral works industries, which also evaporate annually more than 400 to 500 million cubic meters of water. They evaporate it naturally. After that, they collect the minerals, they process them, you know, like the boron. The Dead Sea represents more than 80%, I think, of the world boron reserves. also for fertilizers, for magnesium, for table salt, there are lots of things. And as a result of, the shrinkage of the Dead Sea, the land on both sides also is deteriorating. We are facing hundreds of sinkholes. The land is collapsing. Almost every day there is a new sinkhole going down, which means we lost the land on both sides. So for future development, it is like impossible. A good example recently, the main road that goes from north of Israel to Eilat in the south, a sinkhole also, developed along the road, and the road was closed and has to be moved. And you can see how how the Dead Sea looked in the past. In 31, you can see. Now in 84, it was divided, and the ones in the south, those are the evaporation ponds, and there is water pumped from the north to the south. And you can see in 93, of course, today it is much worse. This represents the mentality of the unilateral action. And today as EcoPeace, and you will be hearing, we are trying to bring, a more cooperative and regional thinking to the region, and to change the mentality of a win-lose to a win-win. And I think, those things cannot be saved. They will face more deterioration. We will face more losses of economic opportunities if we do not put hands together and think as equals and partners to save the Dead Sea and rehabilitate the Jordan River. Millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of new jobs, according to a World Bank report, can be really created if there was a real economic development in the Jordan Valley, looking for all the riparians as equals and people who care about each other, and of course caring about the ecology. This is a missing really opportunity in tourism, in religious tourism, in agriculture. The Dead Sea is 427 meters below sea level. It's the lowest point, the saltiest body on earth, and the Jordan River also is the lowest on earth, and it has the highest velocity on earth. And I will stop with that, and it's 12 minutes only, so nobody complain about the timing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nader. You heard about the problems. You will be hearing what we did, and later on the future from Gidon. Before I start, I would like to take about 1 minute to really thank the organizers. Dr. Rachel, thank you very much. A great opportunity to address such intelligent audience. But also I would like to extend my really gratitude to His Excellency Abu Hammour. He complained about other officials not being here. Well, you are our champions, Your Excellency, and it's always great to have you with us, seriously. But before I go any further, also, I would like to also thank His Excellency Engineer Munir Awais from the Amman municipality, and His Excellency Abdul Rahman Al-Khatib for coming and supporting us in this great conference over here. Thank you. So the organization, you heard about the activities of the organizations, and mainly about the Jordan River, but the organization works in Jordan, Palestine, and Israel. We are not only an environmental organization, but also peacemakers, because we believe peace will bring prosperity to any ecosystem. We really focus on transboundary water resources. The projects of the organization deals with only the ecosystems that have two riparians to it. And the Jordan River is one of the most important ecosystems that we are working on. Knowing that the Jordan River ends at the Dead Sea, and like Nader said, that the Dead Sea is facing problems that it needs really help. How do you go forward? And we forgot to set up the clock, sorry. It's working? Good, excellent. So the organization works in its efforts to advance our work in two ways, in fact. The top-down and the bottom-up. The bottom-up dealing with the grassroots, the schools, the young people. Also, we go up a little bit to the professionals, the farmers that are in the valley in particulars. And sometimes you find rich farmers who can really manage their way and market their products, but the majority is poor farmers that need a lot of support. And also, from that direction, we work also with municipalities, and we have with us mayors from the region that will be speaking later on. The top-down approach comes from research and lobby and advocacy for the central government. The Middle East is a bit a centralized system rather than having municipalities that can really do everything by themselves. So we work with the central government and move down to the less government or smaller governments in the region itself. The Good Water Neighbor project is one of the projects that we are very, very proud of. In fact, this project started in 2001, and if you remember, 2001 was a very critical year. That's the year of the second Intifada. And it was so difficult to convince people that your neighbor is good, calling the project the Good Water Neighbor at that time, and it was really bad times. But we proved to people that the project is successful because we did a whole lot of services to the communities that were affected by the second Intifada. The Good Water Neighbor is the flagship of the organization, and I can say that all other projects came out from that particular great project. As you see on the screen, this is some of the activities that we did and some of the communities and leadership that we moved towards the Good Water Neighbor activities. Like you see on the left of the screen, the youth water trustees. Those are the kids that we recruit in every school to carry on the message of the organization and the water issues in the region. Community leadership, like you can see on the screen, is a priest. We have a interfaith program that we bring all sheikhs, priests, rabbis to the table to discuss, to show the importance, the religious importance of the river. On the municipality level, you can see also one example of the many memorandum of MOUs that have been signed for the cooperation. This is a famous picture over here of mayors jumping in the rivers together, in the river. And you can see the big billies here and there, but it's not a pretty picture, you know, but this is me in the deep water. They push me all the way down there. But the other pictures in the bottom, you can see that the memorandum of understanding has been signed in more than one location, really, and the people of the region are so keen on working together. After they really realize that, when they sit together, they discuss, they find out that your problem is my problem, so why we are not cooperating together to try to overcome it. Like I said, the faith-based tour, just to show people that this is a holy river. to all religions, and in particular to a Jordanian religion. You know, like we are Jordanians, we believe that we have the river is holy to us because the whole country is named after the river. So shame, shame, shame that the river is no good. You know, like we should work on it from a Jordanian perspective. And from that effort, we were successful in bringing really big figures of the three religions to sign the covenant of the Jordan River, and it's been signed by the major and big religious figures in the region. Now to the media, you cannot do anything really without involving the media. Mind you, the media works with you and against you sometimes, and because we are a regional organization and Israel is a chapter, most of the Arab, not most, some of the groups in the Arab world, they see us as collaborators, as normalizers. We say that we work for the region, for the people, for the benefit of the people, for peace. So no matter what kind of groups on both sides, in any side, that comes out condemning what we do, we tell them, fine, you do your job, we do our job, and our job is much more sacred in our opinion. So you can see that the three groups always together in the river. This is a very famous picture in the middle bottom where we raise the flags together that we need to rehabilitate this very famous river together. So in our activities in the valley, we found out that we need to bring something tangible to the people, to go and conduct conferences and talk about the river, you know, and invite people from here and there. The people of the region, they stand still and say, well, from one conference to another, what have you done? So we decided that at one point to go ahead and develop what we call green gardens. We asked every municipality to assign a small piece of land to be able to develop it, to put some kind of education materials towards environment and so on, and maybe a small library here and there. At the end, we succeeded in the three countries to be able to concentrate on one particular location. And like in Israel, we have the Injerd Eco Center, a very famous one. People of Israel can go, and the kids, the schools can make trips and have the what you call hands-on experience on environment. But not only that, also to bring to contribute to the center itself. So on in Palestine, we have the Auja Center in the town of Auja. And in Jordan, we have the Eco Park. Of course, I must mention here that without the cooperation and the help of the Jordan Valley Authority, none of this could happen in Jordan. The Eco Park in Jordan is in the Ziglab Dam area. It was really hard to convert a reservoir, which is a dam, to a recreational facilities. In the Middle East, we look at dams as reservoirs only, unlike the US. In the US, any dam has so many activities around it. I've been here many, many years back, and I enjoyed so many dams in the state of Tennessee. It was great. And I always carried that idea to change our dams to not only reservoirs, but also to recreational and tourism. And really the JVA been a big help in that. And also what happened in El Auja was a great achievement. I really urge whoever can go there to visit our eco parks. Creating a high-level political will was not an easy path. We've been in contact with friends all across the world, and we were lucky that certain doors were opened in the right time, and we were able to push our ideas and activities in the U.S. Senate, where we succeeded in having a resolution passed for the Jordan River in November 2007. In the EU Parliament also, the same resolution was passed in 2010. And also the locally, we have the Israeli Knesset in 2013, Jordanian Parliament 2012. The irony is that you can see that the foreign parliaments or senates or what have you recognize the problem before us in the region. But no complaint here. Yani we accept that as long as we are, yani we got it over there. We always look for international support, for more international involvement to be able to move our programs. And we've really been lucky that the Time magazine in 2008 recognized us as heroes of environment. And that was a huge, big exposure, really, that other entrepreneurship organizations recognized us, and in 2009 we were lucky to receive the Skull Award. The Skull Award is Jeff Skull from eBay, who established this magnificent forum, and it was a $1 million award, and a very sizable, handsome. And since then, the award gave us the door to go to England every year. That's where we met some great people, and we established the IAC, which is the Advisory International Committee, to help us from great figures all around the world. But as you see in the picture here, yani that particular event opened the door for us to meet Jimmy Carter, Robert Redford, some really, really great people like Desmond Tutu, a great man, really. And they've been really pushing us so much. In the bottom center government, this is Nader and Cameron, before he was elected as a prime minister for England, and Gidon, yeah, you are there too. So they planted the tree over there. I don't know what happened to the tree, Nader, but we need to really pay attention to it, let's say. The rehabilitation of the Jordan River is underway, really. We've been active in this, and that's why we are here. And the three photos in front of you can show that our efforts came to a fruition, kind of, that the picture on the left showing the 2,000 cubic meters of water that flows down the river every hour nowadays. And I must say here that it was a cooperation between us, pressure, and the Jordan Valley Authority, who played a big role in pushing the Israelis that we really need to do this. And they did it. The other two pictures, the top is the treatment plant that's been constructed on the Israeli side. That's where all the sewage that used to flow to the Jordan River stopped flowing there. And also on the bottom you see the Jordanian, on the Jordanian side, the water treatment plant that's been constructed in North Shune, of course, by the financing by the USAID about 2 years ago, and it's in operation. Well, I'm exactly 15 minutes, and it's all yours, Gidon. Thank you very much for listening.
Shukran, Nader and Munketh. We should say that the Palestinian treatment plant in Jericho is now also up and running as well. The latest of the 3 new sewage treatment plants, so one for each country moving forward. I want to speak to our top-down activities because, like we heard from so many of the other panelists here, if you don't base your work on good science, then you don't convince decision makers. And we've invested certainly a decade of effort on developing good science, because when we first initiated our programming was very much focused on the bottom up, on community actions, on working with the schools and the young people and adult activists. And we came, of course, to realize that that's not enough, that we need to be basing our work also on good science and the top-down advocacy of going directly to decision makers with briefs and reports that speak to facts that are very difficult, that speak to facts that first and foremost highlight the self-interest of each side to move forward. Because, again, our experience is that decision makers in any country don't move forward if they don't see the self-interest in doing so. So one of our first studies for the Jordan River was our environmental flow study. We needed to know, well, what does it mean to rehabilitate the River Jordan? And we also needed to know how bad is the river. And like everything that we do in the organization, we hired an Israeli, a Palestinian, and a Jordanian expert to do so. Because perhaps unlike here in the United States and Canada, where there's trust, if you don't hire an expert from each country and you don't have a common fact-finding mission in place, then no one's going to listen or read your report. If it was written by a Palestinian, then the Israeli side is not going to read it. If it's written by an Israeli, then the Palestinian and Jordanian side aren't going to believe it. So first and foremost, the structure of the research has to be together so that we have common fact-finding. In fact, in all of our top-down activities, we're trying to answer 3 questions. Why is it important? Why is the River Jordan important? And we heard from Nader why it's important. What's gone wrong? Well, you heard that from both Nader and Munketh. But we answer those questions together from a regional perspective. And then most importantly, how do we get it right? And that's what I'm going to be presenting in my minutes here, is our efforts of how to get it right, but by coming out with a single vision. Not just a Palestinian vision, not just a Jordanian vision, not just an Israeli vision, but a single regional vision that must meet the aspirations and legitimate aspirations of all 3. Otherwise, we've done nothing. Otherwise, we don't really advance. One of the results of that study was that about 50% of the biodiversity of the Jordan River has been lost over these last 60-odd years. When Admiral Lynch came down the river, as Nader mentioned, the weeping willow was a famous tree down the banks of the river. It provided much of the shade for the Bedouins who were mostly using the river at that time. The willow tree went extinct, and the willow tree could no longer grow on the banks of a river that used to be a freshwater river, but had been turned into a heavily saline and polluted river. So I think we'll also hear from one of the mayors today that the willow tree is today being planted back on the banks of the River Jordan because the water quality is being improved. One of the toughest questions that we had was, okay, we know how bad the situation is, but how are we going to move forward? Are we going to do nothing? Unacceptable for us. Can we move for full restoration? Of course we want full restoration, but is it realistic? There's now 20-odd million more people living in the Jordan Valley. We can't achieve full restoration. We can't bring, impossible, 1.3 billion cubic meters of water down the river. Even partial restoration, which is about half the flow. If you look at the case of the Murray-Darling in Australia, that's what they're trying to do. They're bringing half the flow back to the river. And Australia is leading the world in river rehabilitation because of that effort. But we also thought that even half the flow is going to be impossible. And we chose not partial restoration, but river rehabilitation. We're not satisfied with just flow enhancement because it doesn't bring back the integrity of the river. The minimum flow here is the river rehabilitation. It brings back integrity to the river, and that's the target that we set. So we came and we said how much water we think should come back, and we lobbied for the sewage to be treated and to come out of the river, and for some fresh water to also to be returned. A first good step, an incredible precedent, but not enough. So even if by the end of next year Israel starts to return 30 million cubic meters, that's still way below what we see as minimum environmental flows. But with the political will being created, we saw leadership, and we saw that the two drainage authorities on the Israeli side initiated their own master plans. There's a drainage authority that we'll hear from the Sea of Galilee to the border with Jordan, and they've completed a master plan for the river rehabilitation and started to implement it, which you'll hear. And then another drainage authority is working from the Sea of Galilee, from the border with Jordan until the border with what we hope will be the future state of Palestine on the Green Line, and that is still being approved. There are delays there, but very important work, a very important initiative. Israel and Jordan, as a sub-committee of their joint water committee, created a subcommittee for the Jordan River. And His Excellency Abu Hamur led that effort. Again, the importance of identifying champions that are willing to go that mile further. And that's an institutional change. So there's not only sewage going out and there's water flowing in, but there's now a new institution that meets on a regular basis. Is it good enough? Not yet, because of course we want to see it as a trilateral. We think that the Palestinians must be at that table as well, and we won't stay quiet until we see that happen. Then with European Union support, we're able to launch a NGO study, which is the first integrated effort to develop a master plan for the Jordan River. The principles that we've put in place for that master planning effort, and it's the principles of our organization as a whole, is that all riparians must be at the table, and that requires that Palestine be recognized as an equal riparian to the river with its just rights to not only water from the river, its equitable share, but also access, full access to the river and to the resources of the Jordan Valley, because unless it's going to be a valley of prosperity to all, it won't be a valley of prosperity to any of us. And that's a principle that we've put in place. So that the objectives of our Jordan River effort, the rehabilitated and accessible, a regional symbol of peace and a source of prosperity for Palestinians, Jordanians, and Israelis together. That's our overall vision statement for the master planning efforts. We hired one of the world's leading consultants on river rehabilitation, a Dutch consultancy, that then hired a local team of experts, Palestinian, Jordanian, and Israeli together. We've held many stakeholder participation events. We launched in 2012 the baseline report of the master plan in Jordan. Our partners here are the Stockholm International Water Institute, again one of the world leaders on transboundary water management, and the Global Nature Fund coming from Germany. In between our two large stakeholder events, many small stakeholder events in the region, Israeli government holding its own stakeholder events as well as part of its national planning efforts. And then the second event where we're able to also bring ministers. And I must say, at this event in November 2014, it fell at the time of the commemoration or the celebration of a peace treaty between Israel and Jordan, but it wasn't a very nice moment. There was a lot of death and violence, particularly in Jerusalem, and therefore all of the official events dealing with the 20-year peace treaty were cancelled. Our event, however, was not, and we managed to also bring two ministers from Israel to come to Jordan, the Minister of the Environment and the Minister of Science and Technology, to speak at the conference together with the head of the Palestinian Water Authority from Palestine, and of course His Excellency Abu Hamur. We will. I'll come back to it. The objectives, I don't have much time, the objectives of the strategic objectives of the master plan are beyond just the water. We're not only talking about the river, because the river is a critical ecological feature, but of course it's part of the land, as we heard from some of the other presentations. It's part of the people, and therefore we need to not only deal with the water issues of management and pollution control and ecological restoration, but we need to deal with agriculture, urban and infrastructure development, tourism and cultural heritage, and of course, the big elephant in the room, the cooperation, the regional cooperation, and trying to create the institutions beyond the Israeli-Jordanian subcommittee that's been created, but perhaps the model, and I'll come to it later, of the International Joint Commission. As part of the master planning effort, we've identified about 100 interventions, and those interventions cost over $4 billion. $4 billion that need to be invested in Palestine and in Jordan. Israel needs to pay for its own investments. It's wealthy enough, and it's doing it itself. The sewage treatment plants in Israel are being paid for by Israeli taxpayers. But the development assistance is needed in Palestine and Jordan, and we'll be holding a donors conference on the second day of the presentation of the master plans, where we hope that the Swedish leadership, the government of Sweden, has really shown leadership in this effort and is convening a donors meeting to discuss the implementation of the plan and raising $4 billion here to move forward on the needed investments for the region. So what's the way forward? Well, first of all, you're all welcome to come to the conference that we're going to hold on the 9th and 10th of June in Jordan. His Excellency will open the conference. The Minister of Water in Jordan, in fact, will come. I don't know what ministers from Israel will be attending. We don't have a government yet, and it's going to be more difficult for us this time to bring Israeli ministers, as Muketh and Nader had spoken about their challenges of being called traitors from their country. Well, in the Israeli office, we're accused of being traitors too, because there are people who really are threatened by our actions, our vision for a better future, and are making their very best efforts to prevent us to succeed as an organization. Our ongoing advocacy efforts following the master plan presentations will be continued working with the media, with parliamentary. We expect several members of Congress to be coming to the June conference. We're in discussions with a senator to put a bill on the floor of the Senate supporting the rehabilitation of the Jordan River and matching a US dollar with every other dollar that's placed towards the rehabilitation of the Jordan, because the Senate and the Congress well recognize, particularly since the Senate resolution, that the Jordan River is not just ours, it's also yours, because it's part of your cultural heritage, it's part of your spiritual heritage, and therefore we all have an obligation not only beyond the environment and not only because of our cultural connections to the Jordan River and its valley, but because the rehabilitation of the Jordan River speaks to much more than that. It speaks to a future which is more peaceful, a future which brings prosperity to Palestinians, to Jordanians, and to Israelis together, and that's what can give us hope. We are so excited that the Sister Water Partnership between mayors here of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence will be signed with our mayors, because not only is it the sharing of experience, but it's again a statement of solidarity, that we all share these waters, that be it the Great Lakes or the St. Lawrence or the Jordan, these are global resources, and we can't allow their demise. And we'll together with Sister Cities International and CDI, we're developing other partnerships, and we welcome more cities. The City of London, perhaps. The City of New York, perhaps. Let's see who takes on that leadership. And finally, we'll be launching next month a study to develop a first draft of what a Jordan River Commission could look like. We have no authority. It's our governments that have all the authority. All we can do is to try to raise the bar, is to put information out there that must be based on best science, on best practice, because if it's not, we'll be shot down immediately. So we need the best science, we need the best experience, we need the document that can really draw the best lessons, and the IJC is some of the best lessons in the world, and we hope that we'll be able to partner with the commissioners from the United States and from Canada and from their experience here in the Great Lakes to help create that institutional structure that we so desperately need if we're going to rehabilitate the Jordan River. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent on time and excellent presentations. We will bring the mic. Oh, this one? Is it this one?
We lost the mic.
We lost the mic. Oh, okay. While Rachel is thinking of that, I'll take kind of the first launching question. You know, I mean, we can all joke. I think, of course, we all know, and I really appreciate all the efforts that that EcoPeace does, and all of these directors have worked there, really put their hearts and souls into making a difference on the ground. But I raised this question long ago, and I will raise it again. I think one of the things that is really probably, you know, puts EcoPeace at a disadvantage, and what makes it susceptible to some of the critiques that people make in the Middle East and around the world, is precisely the question of Palestine, which is, as of yet, most of the focus of EcoPeace projects have been on quality of life. So recognizing that on the ground level, in villages and in places that, you know, people are suffering because of their water resource, you know, access, they cannot access their water resources, etc. But EcoPeace has not built into this quality of life, notion of quality of life, the other portion of the formula, which is sovereignty and land sovereignty and Palestinian rights. So, I mean, of course, all of the directors of eco-peace talk about Palestine as a, an already existing space. But most of the focus is precisely on the quality of life. And at the same time, all the projects, for example, with the good neighbor, with the good water neighbor, at some point in writings and stuff like that from eco-peace, you find that the focus is, we were able to find people who are from local communities who cannot travel, Palestinian people, from the local communities who cannot travel. We can find them and they can actually work in their communities, which is great, except for the fact that they did not address the fact that these people cannot travel. Why? How come? Should we defend that? Should we work against that, against those inhibitions of travel? So this is the question that I will put for them, which is how do you, quality of life issues are really luxurious issues that are mostly Israeli problems, to tell you the truth. They are, of course, Palestinian problems too, because quality of life is really not good. But quality of life in Palestine, in the villages of Palestine, in the cities of Palestine, has a lot to do with occupation, has a lot to do with travel, with ability to move, with ability to access resources. So even with all these things that people do on the ground that make life better, it makes life better really, for the most part, to a large degree for Israelis and not that much better for the Palestinians. So, so all these parks, for example, Palestinians cannot really travel for them. Like someone from Nablus cannot go to Hebron that easily, even if there is a park. So anyway, if you can address, so I often thought that eco-peace should come out with a statement about Palestine and the necessity of Palestine and its sovereignty, and be clear about their vision of a Palestinian state, right? All of that stuff in order to actually justify the action on the ground. But anyway, yeah.
Okay, I'll start, and you don't count for it. Well, no, I think I totally disagree, because our political position is stated almost every day. It's on media, and we are very clear. We are within the two-state solution, within 1967 borders. We are totally against the settlements. Those are illegal. The master plan talks about Jordan Valley without settlements, all water back to the Palestinians. And when the Palestinian president went to the UN for the recognition of Palestine, we had a press release. We have signs in Bethlehem supporting this initiative. But I would say, because, we are doing the soft work, and we are lobbying abroad and trying to bring more attention, further support to help the region, to help the Palestinians, to clarify the situation, and we travel as equals, and, we share the same message. Maybe on the ground, we are not the ones who are implementing the development. We leveraged millions, hundreds of millions to change the infrastructure. But at the end, this money is channeled through another body, and the people see the one who cuts the ribbon. They do not realize that we are here, and now we are trying, to raise voices, to bring attention, further support, to the Middle East. The people in the Middle East, they do not see this. They see in terms of physical development, and unfortunately also, the lack of the peace process and the depression. The people are, fed up with, the word peace and not seeing fruitful results. It creates a good environment, in the street, for any contacts. And, there are lots of misunderstanding. What does this mean? So we are doing a lot, to support the Palestinian cause.
Yeah, it's an issue we come up against all the time. Is, well, why aren't you doing more? And why aren't you something different? Why aren't you a human rights organization? We don't claim to be a human rights organization. Do we believe in the principles of human rights? Very much so. Are they on our website? Are they part of the description of our work and our vision? Completely. But we're still not going to be a human rights organization, because our strength comes from our environmental knowledge. That's where our strength comes from. Now, water quality, quality of life issues as an Israeli issue, I find that really hard to understand. I think the quality of life issues are first and foremost suffered by Palestinians. When a Palestinian village has no water running down its pipe and receives water once a month, as the village of Ujja had received until we led advocacy there to change things around, well, we're proud that we completely altered the quality of life of some 5,500 people. Because today, Ujja has a better water supply, has 24/7 water than Ramallah. Similar to another village, Baka Sharqiya in Palestine, that not only didn't have a water supply in its pipes, they didn't have pipes. People were coming to a well. Again, about 5,000 Palestinian citizens were going to a well to get their water. Today, there's water in every home, and we just linked the sewage systems, because a sewage network was also built, and we linked the sewage systems of Baka Sharqiya with the Israeli side, solving not only the water supply issue, a human rights issue, but also a sanitation and environmental issue. We doubled, we forced the military of Israel to double the amount of water going to Gaza 3 weeks ago. For 20 years, Israel was selling 5 million cubic meters. Today, Israel is selling, it's not giving, 10 million cubic meters. We doubled it after a year of advocacy. Now, is that doing a favor to Israel? Yeah, I think it is, because we lobbied Israel by saying, if you don't get more water into Gaza, you're going to get pandemics in Gaza, and you're going to see disease spread like Ebola across the Mediterranean, from Gaza to Israel to Egypt. We spoke in self-interest, but first and foremost, the people that gained were the people of Gaza, and we're still working on doubling that amount of water again. But we're also doing more than that. It's not just community. It's institutional change. We've led the effort to replace the Joint Water Committee, which we think is a committee that has a long overlived its benefit to both peoples, to both Israelis and Palestinians. It's a failed institution, and we've put an alternative water accord on the table. Our parks, Ujja Park had 20,000 Palestinian kids go through the system last school year. 20,000 kids, they weren't just from Ujja. Ujja only has a population of 5. They came from all over Palestine. So, yes, by not being a human rights organization, we're perhaps more vulnerable. But by being focused on our issues, we're far more effective. And that's what we care about.
Great, thanks. Rachel, on the back.
There was a slide that when you went to the climate change, I'm really curious about how much rain is coming down.
Nobody's hearing you. You use the mic.
Can you hear me?
Use the mic. It's better.
There was a slide that was maybe on the agenda to talk about climate change, and I remember when I first went to the region 30 years ago, the north of the area got as much rainfall as London, and I wonder how much rainfall is coming down now and how that will affect, because you talked about water diversion, but I'm curious to know about the sources and how much water is actually falling on the watershed. Thank you.
Shall we answer or shall we? Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, the
please.
climate change.
Go ahead, please.
The climate change is all over the Middle East. We are suffering since more than 20 years ago. The climate change is happening and it's changing a lot of water accumulation or rainfall among the countries in the Middle East, especially in our countries where we classified as arid country. And the same case, I think, with Palestine and but not the case with Syria and the western part of Israel. I think still they didn't, the climate change does not harm the whole areas over there. But in the catchment area of the Yarmouk River especially, the climate change is there and the divergence is there. Okay, still, while the climate change is appearing and the accumulation of the rainfall is going down, and still they are diverting the water, especially the Syrian and the Israelis. The Israelis, they are in the first of divergence. The second, the Syrian, they are also violating the agreement. We have an agreement with the Syrian in 1987, has been signed, and we asked them many times to review it and to change a few of the articles, because a lot of things happening in the ground, they refused. They never change anything. This is the case. Thank you.
There's here.
Okay, some of my colleagues there is asking me to tell you the accumulation of the rainfall on annual or on yearly basis. Actually, it varies from the area to area in Jordan. And if you go to the northern part, the accumulation is reaching around 400 millimeter. In the middle also reaching around 450 to 500. In the desert, it's not more than 80 or 70 or 100, it's in wet year. In the southern part of Jordan doesn't reach more than 200 and also in wet year. This is the distribution of the rainfall among the country.
If I may just comment real quick about climate change. It's not only about how much rain that year came, but also the pattern of the rainfall. In the last couple of years in the Middle East, we experienced one very strong floods that came over a week, and then a drought of 70 days afterwards. That's where a lot of farmers will depend on the rainfall, but they didn't receive any. So where they're going to go, they'll go to the reservoirs, to the dams that collected that rainfall or that flood. But what you have is that when you enter the summer, your dams are empty. You don't have anything. So that created a very big problem to the JVA, which they are responsible for the dams and to supply the water. Luckily, this last year, it was not the case. We had a good rainy season. But we know that the pattern of the rainfall is changing, definitely. Yeah.
أهلا وسهلا اسمي Alison Vogelsong. I'm curious, because of your interest in looking at the IJC as a framework for collaboration and institutional cooperation, have you also looked at the Nile Basin cooperative frameworks? I'm only curious because of cultural dynamics and how different and I think exceptional we like to be in the United States. And so have you learned any lessons from the Nile Basin Initiative that you're applying in the work you're doing now?
So we've done a study, it's on our website, that looks at many of the existing transboundary river organizations. And we've looked at the Rhine, we've looked at the Rhone, other in South Africa, in Southern Africa, in the Mekong in Europe, the India-Pakistan agreement as well. So we've looked at all of those, and you know the team that's going to produce the study is going to try and draw out the best lessons. The reason I think that we have interest, the Nile is not an agreement yet. The Nile is an initiative, and there's been some good progress in these last 6 months or so. But for many years, the Nile was completely stuck, and it was actually not a good example. What we've found is that there are basin initiatives which are produced by the donor states, perhaps the Mekong, that while the donor community is putting a lot of money, it's working, it's producing papers, but its survival is in real question. Unless the institution is built up from the bottom and has constituency support across the board in the countries themselves, it's not going to survive. And that's certainly a key issue for us. The IJC has incredible buy-in from American and Canadian communities. And if anything, that's the key lesson that we want to bring to our own part of the region.
Our case is totally different. If you allow me just to launch few words, what Gidon he said. Our situation is totally different from Canada and America, or in Africa or whatever. Those countries, they are existing on natural basis. We don't have 5 Liberian countries where they are enemies to each other. All of us, or other Arab countries like Syrian, they don't have relation with Israel. So they deal and they do whatever they want. Nobody can stop them while they don't have any peace treaty or peace agreement with Israel. Even the case in Lebanon. Also Lebanon, they don't have any relation with Israel. The case in Palestine. People in Palestine, they are saying this is an occupation. In Jordan, we have oppositors, they are saying Israel, they have to go away. Yani our situation, it's not easy to build an institutional, except the peace treaty which we did with the Israelis. Even if we are going to touch it, unfortunately, our local people also in Jordan, they are still shouting, and today we read now the news, some news in the media coming, that we have to stop the peace treaty and the gas agreement with Israel. So it's our situation is bad. It's difficult. It's not easy to change and to do whatever you are thinking. It is for the benefits of the Liberian countries.
So there are millions of people in the United States who would love to do something to help you, but they don't know what to do. And so I would like to ask, what can an ordinary person do in the United States to help change this situation?
It's very clear. It's easy how to do it. Now, if you are talking about local people in the States, that's another issue. Nobody can do anything. Sorry, to say like this. But always local communities, they can put a lot of pressures on the officials. And I know that a lot of NGOs in the state, they used to, they like to help or to assist these countries just to solve the problem of water issues in general. And restore, solving this, even, if somebody, normal body is coming to the Israelis, sometimes they don't hear even Gidon. Gidon, he's suffering a lot from his government sometimes, because they thought that he's fighting for the sake of the Palestinian water rights. And I was there in some of the conferences, and he brought one of the Quattro committee, and he presented the whole situation of Palestine concerning the water issues, and it was tremendous. All the Israelis whom they were there, I hear them, that if that time they can kill him, they will kill him. But they didn't kill him, okay? Because if you don't have the favorite of the officials, of the decision makers, of the politicians, you cannot do anything in the Middle East. Believe me. First, okay, the NGOs, they can do. Like the ECHO, what they did, they struggled more than 10 years ago. They started there talking about the restoration of the river, the rights of Palestinians in the water aquifers. And we also, were talking. And in the end, the officials in Europe or in the state, they heard from them, and they start talking even in the official meetings or conferences. The Swedish, the ambassador, she's a woman, she is putting a lot of pressure on other sides that, to help in solving the conflicts between these countries through ECOPs. We appreciate anybody to help, but if you want to help, we have to help in different regards. Okay, there is a lot of agencies, funding agencies over here. People, when they want to see something and to appreciate it or to look for it as in good vision, they want to see something in the ground. If we start talking and continue talking without doing any projects on the ground, I think nobody will believe in you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a question, and His Excellency really shed a very important information and light to it. But like any other NGO, we usually struggle for funding. We do need support always. No matter how small, it will make a difference. So an average American can help in that. The second level is that visit if you can. Come to the region, understand it, see how the economy is working, see how environment is working, see how people are suffering in different places like the Palestinian issue and so on, and come back and be an advocate for the organization. So I think a lot of people can do, you know, from small donation to a real big advocate in between.
If you allow me just to add a little bit, and I think the United States is the biggest player in the whole Middle East politics. And the United States, at least on 3 levels, they can work. On the official level, to deal directly with the river, I doubt, because there is too much harmony between the official politics in the States and Israel. And if the United States does think with the river directly, that is a recognition of the Palestinian state, which Israel does not want at this stage. They want it to come through a different way. So the Americans officially deal very, very carefully when it comes to the Jordan River, including our workshops. Even the master plan, I doubt the Americans will attend it because it deals directly with the Jordan River. But on other levels, rehabilitation of the Jordan River, the importance, you can do a lot through the churches, because it means a lot for those people. And this would encourage them to come or to further support or the advocacy. In terms of also funding, there are different ways to support the communities. The sewage treatment plant on the Jordanian side was built by USAID. So on the Jordanian side, the official government can work whatever they want, there is no problem. On the Palestinian side, they can do something, but not directly related to the river. They can invest in water, sanitation, infrastructure, agriculture. There are lots of things to be done. But the largest obstacle is the politics. Yes. There is a question there, the gentleman there is asking from the beginning. No,
okay.
Excuse me. I'm a woman.
Welcome.
I was asking. I'm Mel Bromberg from Watershed International. My question is regarding infrastructural financing and what EcoPeace is doing. I see that you're going toward donor aid again, which is SIWI, Stockholm International Water Institute, and the German government, which are big aid financiers. How are the ministers of finance within your respective countries allocating investment and resources for future sustainability for things like river rehabilitation, sanitation, hygiene, et cetera? Has the investment dollar or the investment amount gone up in the countries working through ministers for finance? Because that's the way I see your sustainability happening with the water projects that you're doing.
So on that account, yes, it's not only donors that we're looking to help advance things in Jordan and Palestine. We see public-private partnerships. We've in fact hired a consultant specifically for the financing of the master planning effort. And that will be a report that will be released also at the master plan event on the 9th and 10th of June. There's public-private partnership. We see a large role of the private sector. Water, unlike here in Chicago, we learned where water is so cheap. Water in our part of the world is very expensive, and therefore wastewater becomes also an important resource. So there's investments that, if advanced correctly, can bring economic return. So there's private sector attractiveness. Jordan is planning a BOT on its desalination plant in Aqaba, that the private sector will lead it. And of course, once tax revenues increase in the valley because of the investments. We've got to be realistic. Without donor support, we're not going to move forward. But once there is sufficient donor support and public-private partnership, then tax revenues coming to the governments themselves become an engine to further expand development. When we look at the master plan on the Palestinian side, the Palestinians are planning to bring some 500,000 residents to the Jordan Valley. That's the desire of the Palestinian side. That means incredible job creation in building new homes, in building a new infrastructure. That's what's going to, again, help generate a healthy economy that cuts us off from being dependent only on donor assistance. But we also need to be realistic. Without that initial injection of donor funding for Palestine and Jordan, but donor funding for Palestine and Jordan in a framework that rehabilitates perhaps the most famous river in the world and that advances concretely a peace effort where no other effort is succeeding or moving forward. So that's good value for your taxpayer dollars.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm hoping, or I'm wondering, and this may be a little bit difficult, if I could combine the question about climate change and the question about international action, and let's use the United States. While this country has been very late to the table in certain sectors of the political parties of recognition of climate change, it has slowly reached a broader sector, and parties that were in denial have started to find new ways to look at it. Do you think it's possible that awareness of climate change and the stakes that are rising could find a way to get new attention, say in American political pressure, which you've acknowledged has a major role to play in this discussion and in potential compromise?
Yes, I think this is very important question that most of the world, I think they will face, or still some of the countries already years ago they are facing the climate change. And who is creating of this problem all over the world? I think everybody recognizing these countries whom they destroy some of the horizons in our sky, the biggest industrial countries. So they have now, since I think 5-6 years ago, they start making international conferences about the climate change and how they are going to improve the effects instead of tremendous effect, and it will affect million or billion of people. They will try their best to minimize it as much as they can by taking care of other awarenesses, other effectiveness of the human activities or the businessman activities whom they don't care about the ozone layers or something like this. So I think they have to pay for that. While they are rich and billionaires, they have to pay for the things which they did bad. I think they should go in this vision to ask the people, yes.
Okay, just to add on to His Excellency remarks, any climate change, whether you believe in it or not, what are you going to do towards climate change? The mitigations that people are calling for to combat climate change, it equals reform of certain industries or the way we deal with our planet Earth. And that reform will only lead you to an economic reform. You save money, you save the Earth. So whether the climate change is there or not, it's a win-win situation. So nobody is losing, really, when we talk about climate change. But from a regional experience, I don't know how many people in this room know that a big part of the Syrian problem was due to climate change. How many people knows that? They faced a long drought in the eastern parts of the country that made a lot of farmers leave their farmland and they came down to Damascus. But they came to Damascus as poor, marginalized. Nobody hear them. And if you know about the regime in Syria, you will get the picture how those people lived. More than 1 million people in the cities, in the major cities. So when the spark struck, they were the fuel to really start the whole revolution, and that's how it started. So it's a very, very serious matter and should not be taken lightly at all. Thank you.
Just if you allow me to add, يعني, totally agree with Munkith, and I think the climate change is happening. Yani, it doesn't matter whether you call it climate change, global warming, the people see something is happening. Every single person, from child to elderly people, they know something, and I think the governments are becoming more aware, and there are more interest, and we're going towards that. As an organization, also, we recognize the scarcity of the water shortages, and the pressure will be increasing. The population is doubling almost every 25 years. No matter how much water we have today, we are going to suffer more and more unless we are, take the right measurements to challenge that. And this requires lots of awareness, investment, infrastructure. And as an organization, we just initiated, project on water and energy nexus. And the idea is to further invest in the renewables, because with the climate change, you will get more sun. Okay, so to invest in renewables, mainly the solar energy, and to use that water for desalinization. Desalinization is mainly an energy. Okay, and I think more of the Middle East countries, all the Euro-Mediterranean countries, they are all investing more and more in desalinization because of the water scarcity. So that is one of the initiatives. The sad reality that all the brine will be going to the Mediterranean, and we don't know how much the Mediterranean can cope, with the brine coming from 20 countries around the Mediterranean, including Cyprus and Malta in the middle. So that is something probably the European Union need to further address with the MENA region in order to be able, to avoid any serious problems. Thank you.
Maybe we'll take one quick question, though, because we're running over time.
Oh, thanks. My question also focuses on climate change and the relationship between preserving our fresh water supply in the Middle East and also in the United States. It just seems to me that we cannot hope to ever preserve our water supply unless we have a conversion to carbon neutral renewable energy on the global scale. So why not have, as part of this project of EcoPeace, the connection between the transformation to renewable energy with the preservation of the water supply? And the best place to start here maybe is the University of Illinois at Chicago, because on the faculty here we have one of the world's great experts in renewable energy, Professor George Crabtree, who runs also the New Battery Institute at Argonne National Lab that the president set up directly. So my suggestion is to try to bring Professor Crabtree in this framework of seeing how we can make this conversion both in the Middle East and in the United States. Maybe it also goes against what Mr. Bromberg told me yesterday, that we invested so much in the fossil fuels that we can't make this transition. But we have this problem in the United States too with fracking and with the Keystone pipeline. So we have to do this as well in the United States as well as in the Middle East and in Asia and China. So it seems to me that this has to be one of our major missions of making this connection and getting through to the public in the United States, in Palestine, and Jordan, and Israel as well. So I would ask if you gentlemen can make this on the highest level of your agenda to affect the transition and this juxtaposition of these two issues motivated by climate change.
Yes, good opinion. Okay.
Maybe that's a next step of the lab, Rachel.
Yes. Can we thank the panel, though, please, for a great presentation?